We're going to record, so if you don't want to be part of our recording, you can turn your video off now, but we'll keep it. Just gonna mute some people so we don't have a lot of feedback. Okay, so let's just start with a couple, if the panel members want to quickly introduce themselves and their role related to the real estate or the market or mortgages or whatever it is that you're here for to talk about. We just really want to remind people that in the spirit of this platform, this is all about community. So we want it to be really complementary and not an opportunity to really elevate yourself against your peers here. I know, so I said it.
You mean I can't say bad things about Mel? Come on.
Yeah, that's why she's muted. I keep muting her because she keeps trying to throw you under the bus. I said I had your back, Colleen. So just keeping that in mind, right? Like that, this is an information session for our community, and we're hoping that we have really community specific information as much as possible. I know you guys deal with a lot of different markets, London and surrounding areas. So does that sound fair to everyone? Like no elbows up. Okay, so I'm just going to go through my screen and to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. So I have Mel Sorensen up first. So I guess Mel and Bob, if you want to just take a minute to introduce yourselves and your role here in the business community.
Sure. I'm Mel Sorensen. You're gonna have to mute. Oh, even though one is not muted, we're still echoing here. Sorry.
Could Bob turn the volume down on his computer? Like not just muted, but
okay, he's got it down now. That's way better. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So we work out of Thorndale, the Sutton Group Select office right at 198 King Street, in the same building that I have my market in. And I've been in the business for about 18 years. We do all of the good things that good realtors do, like sell urban and rural and new homes and resales. So, yeah, you're up, Bobby.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you across the top of the board here.
Hang on. Okay, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Mel did most of my introduction already. At least born and raised in the community, that's for sure. And started selling real estate in 1992. Different brokerages along the way, but when we got the opportunity to open a office here directly in Thorndale, we were all in because it's hometown once again. I mostly get involved with the new homes, with the same builder off and on since 1993, which is Wildwood Homes, and you know, started out in the Thorndale area, obviously with the Trails of Wide Creek, and then moved over into the Foxborough development, which has been growing dramatically here over the last short period of time. And I said, I really enjoy the new home aspect, and gives me time to meet a lot of new people and people coming into the community.
Thank you. Okay, Matt Santagapita.
Let's unmute myself. There we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Santagapita. I have, I guess, I operate a real estate team, so called the Santa Sells Houses team. Our office is located in London. I reside in the Trails of Wide Creek neighborhood with my family. From a real estate team perspective, we do everything from residential resale, new construction, a little bit of land. Yeah, I guess that's it in a nutshell.
Perfect.
And I play nice.
There you go. So Matt is our newest agent to be hitting our directory. So I still have to get his information posted, but you'll be finding his information on our business directory soon. Okay, next up we have Amy. So Amy, we actually haven't even met in person ever. So hi and welcome to our panel. If you want to take a minute to introduce yourself. I'll unmute you. There you go.
That was helpful, thank you. So my name is Amy, and I was of the Mortgage Coach. I still am Amy the Mortgage Coach, but I've just recently rebranded with my daughter. So I am now part of Amy and Emma Mortgages. I moved to Thorndale about 5 years ago, but I live out in Prospect, so my address is technically Ilderton, but I'm way far away from Ilderton. I'm 5 kilometers away from Thorndale, so I kind of feel like that's more my home. I've been doing mortgages for about a year now, and I'm really looking at this opportunity more so I'm happy to help with any mortgage questions that I can help with, but being a stay-at-home entrepreneur, it gets a little lonely, so I just wanted to use this opportunity to get to know my neighbors.
That's awesome. Well, we're here every Wednesday at 6:30.
Thanks.
And I do say, like, we are quite the dynamic group here. So welcome. We hope this is the highlight of your week.
I think it might be. Thank you.
All right. Next on my screen, I see Colleen. Do you want to introduce?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Wells. I am a broker with the realty firm in London. I grew up in Thorndale, so we probably moved there, I think, when I was about 5. I do reside in North London right now, but my parents are still in Thorndale, so I'm still a big part of the community and very happy to be part of the business association too and be involved in the things that happen there. I've been in the business for about 14 years.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know that we have Danny listed as an agent, and Danny just has mentioned that he'd just like to be a guest, just like the rest of us here tonight, rather than specifically about agent. So
I'm trying to unmute, yeah. I'm on hold.
Another room, or
Oh, what's that, Danny?
you're leaving. Keep going.
I muted them, Colleen.
I was gonna say, hey, Mom, your mic's on. I texted her before. She obviously doesn't have her phone.
Right. If things get out of hand, we'll send Janice over. Janice, the Monteith's subdivision enforcer. All right. So I'm just kind of jotting down the attendance here too, because we are doing a draw in a couple of weeks. So everybody that's been attending our sessions, we're throwing their names in a draw, and Arden's put together a little prize pack that has some gifts from some of our different hosts that have been part of our Skills Academy. So there's that too. So Amy, like, things could get really exciting for you pretty soon. Okay, so let's get started. Maybe I'll go in reverse order from what we just did as our introductions, if that's okay. So Colleen, I'm coming to you with the question, and I guess Arden can interrupt me if I go off the rails here, or maybe she's left. No, she's still here. With our question. So the question is, what demographic is driving the market demand?
It's a good question. All of them is the short answer of it. We are seeing, there's a ton of first-time buyers. There's a ton of move-up buyers who are moving into their second home. They've had their children now and want a bigger house. We are seeing a lot of investors as well. That's for sure. But it's really everybody. What happened with the market is, in about the end of 2016, our supply just plummeted. So for about 4 years now, we've been low on listings, but the amount of buyers coming to the market hasn't stopped. And that's really what has caused what's going on right now. But specifically in terms of demographics, it really is across the board.
Okay. Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next question, I'm just scanning here. So, and Amy, like, I know you said as a panelist, this might not be exactly what you're into. So I'm just kind of looking through our questions here. I guess as a mortgage broker, is that what we call your role, a mortgage broker?
Yep.
Right, Linko? Okay. So why would we want to utilize your services compared to like a traditional financial institution like a bank or something like that?
That is a really good question. Primarily, the biggest reason is if you go to the bank, you either fit in their guidelines or you don't. And if you don't, then you move on to the next bank and you try to fit their guidelines. And if you don't, then you could spend your whole day kind of going from bank to bank, trying to find somebody. You could go to a broker. The broker has access to the banks as well as 30 or 40 other lenders. So it's kind of one-stop shopping. Typically, we'll spend more time with you as well to find a product that works for you, depending on whether you're looking to refinance or, you know, if your forever home is your forever home, or if you're looking for a secondary property. All those things are taken into consideration, and you're put into a product that works for you as opposed to what works for the bank.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just have to scan through to find all of our panelists. Okay, Bob, I see that you're up next. So I guess you get the privilege of the tag team effect here. So the question is, what is causing the current run up in prices? And do you have any idea how long this will last?
Just a second here, get some volume up. There we go. Not really. We're sort of in the point where with our with the market conditions the way we are, we're still getting. Today we had, for example, had 2 calls from different agents, one out of Kitchener, one out of Toronto. So it's just like they've found our area down here. I think with the work at with the COVID has come along, we've turned into many of our professions, per se, if you want to call it that, have turned into work from home. So by doing that, that's changing our dynamics. People can live further away from their actual job and do everything online. So yeah, I think we're going to see, and maybe Amy can better answer this from one aspect. I don't think we're going to see much change until we start to see the end of COVID and an increase in interest rates. There's just too much demand out there.
Okay. So like, would you recommend, should we eliminate the I Love Thorndale website and social media? Like, should we keep this community on the down low a little bit more? Like,
Well, we've got to get it big enough so that we can get a gas station.
okay, so we only want to grow enough, like a little bit more to get that gas station and a car wash, right? And a few people want some popular coffee establishment.
Yeah. I think our I think people, once people find you, it's pretty hard to go by that, because only being virtually 12 minutes from London, we're getting all sorts of inquiries, and you know, we have two to three new developments coming on board for new homes, and yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to stay real small. But on the other hand, you know, as long as white people move to Thorndale, or telling us that anyway, is they want that small town atmosphere, and that's what we generate here in Thorndale, and try to promote that. And especially now with our new community center, I think that's a big bonus for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. So it's a few things I have to say. The community center bookings, I don't know if anybody's checked out the gym schedule. There's a lot of out-of-towners, and you just feel like, gosh, we're just a little bit too close to neighboring communities. obviously Tem Center wants to book the space. I don't, you know, that's business, right? But it's just like, darn, if I live, you know, a stone's throw, I'd love to be able to use it, but gotta be quicker on the draw, I guess. I know Matt Little's got a comment here, or question here, and maybe I'll have Arden try to keep an eye on the chat box there, if that's okay. Okay. So
Sorry, Becky, there's a Q&A at the end. There's a Q&A at the end. Yeah.
okay, I just thought if it flows with what's happening here, but okay. So next question is going to Matt Santagapita. What could affect or cause the market to slow down?
I mean, I guess in reality, I think there's a lot of different things at play right now. I mean, if we look at the Thorndale area in particular, anybody who is in a major center right now, given what's gone on in the past 12 months, they're looking for space. So, you know, you've got that big driving factor. In the end, where we are going to see a slowdown in call it like the overall market is going to be tied to interest rates. When you really do look at housing and affordability, I mean, everything is about what payment can someone afford. So as an example, you know, if mortgage rates go up, let's say 100 basis points or 200 basis points, and more so really the overnight lending rate from the Bank of Canada, that will ultimately cause a slowdown. It won't be immediate, but it will be a trickle effect and it's because, you know, if you can just, whatever everyone's mortgage is at, if they have a mortgage, you know, if you just think about it, if you go from, you know, mid 2% to 5%, it's a huge change for the expenses of a household. So ultimately, in my opinion, that's the driver. The other one that I throw in there, and I'm a little cautious about it, is actually, and this is a bit of a weird one, is actually the value of the Canadian dollar in context to US dollars. And that's related to the new construction segment. A lot of building material does kind of come out of the States. And so if we do see a weakening Canadian dollar, it'll drive building prices up, which we've already seen right now. And that's related more to supply and demand. But if we get the same thing happening, rise of interest rates and weakening of the Canadian dollar, it'll create a pretty gnarly market, not in a good way.
Yeah.
Won't happen for a while, I don't think.
Yeah, I was listening to CBC the other day, and they had a recorded interview, I think they said from 1981, with someone talking about the interest rates then, 15%.
Yeah.
So I know I've heard my parents talk about that when the mortgage or the interest rates hit a high and people were losing their farms. And
yeah. And in just to, I guess, maybe add something as a bit of a, what you might see that'll extend things is right now, typically you're looking at a 25-year amortization mortgage. You may see the government of Canada reintroduce a 30, 35, 40, even a 50-year amortization. If rates do go up, that will be the only way of kind of like saving the low payment. But in the end, at some point, it's like it has to correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Amy, like, would you like ever recommend a 50-year amortization? That sounds terrifying, depending on how old you are.
Great, 1 sec.
Yeah.
Is that on mute?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I have a little thing that's in my view. Every time I go to click the mute, it goes in the way.
Oh.
I think the 50-year AM is something that could be specific for everybody. I think it could work in some cases and not necessarily in others. There are 30 and 35-year AMs out there already, but I do think that a longer amortization is an option for moving forward. And and further to the interest rates going up, like I agree that there will be some people in trouble if they go up even a little bit. But when you're placed into a mortgage, you go through a stress test. So you're put into a mortgage that's almost at 5% anyway. I think everybody kind of overextends themselves to some degree, but we're doing our best to try to keep everything safe from the get-go.
Okay, perfect. We have all heard the expression house poor, right? So how many people are entering into home buyership right now, and like house poor is where they're at, right? Okay, so I'm going to, Mel, do you want to be hit with the questions right at you? Or do you and Bob want to tag team there and you're set up?
Whichever you prefer. We can bounce back and forth. We play well together.
Okay, well here, this one's for you then, or your team there. What strategies can a buyer use to win in this market?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to plan ahead and get all your ducks in a row. Don't wait until the day that you're putting your offer in to decide that you need to move money around for your deposit or pull it from a, some kind of plan that you've got sitting there. You can't put off showings anymore. If your agent calls and says there's a new listing, you've got to hop in the car and go look at that house right then and there. Waiting till Saturday just means you lost the listing. I think you've got to have a really strong heart to be in this market. There's not a lot of room for, there's no room for conditions, frankly. You've got to go in with guns blazing, tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking price with no conditions. What we're finding is people just want to get into the market. They don't care that there might be flaws in the house that they didn't see. They just want to be in the real estate market because they equate the market with personal wealth, which I think is a pretty good approach to take. But you really have to be prepared ahead of time instead of reacting to what's going on, for sure.
Mel, you mentioned like $100,000 over asking. Like, is that happening like in the Thorndale area? Like seeing really drastic stuff like that?
We haven't seen it in Thorndale that I'm aware of, but we've definitely seen 40, 50, 60, 70 in Thorndale over asking. It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling. Like
Yep.
we're here at our baseball team. Everybody knows the Slammers, right? There's a street.
Of course.
Like we're considering developing a what do you call that? A commune, like where we all live together.
Oh.
So if anybody's looking to buy about 10 properties, we're gonna have some available. So you just let me know when you're ready.
All right, well, I'm ready right now, sister.
We just
I
need
think, yeah, as far as what we're seeing from the new home aspect is the, Matt's absolutely right. The cost of the new homes has increased pretty dramatically over the last 6 to 8 months for sure. But we're seeing that with the new homes that we're dealing with now, people are looking at it rather than spend money and put in their current home. They're saying, look, at this particular market situation, we're, as Melanie said, we're 100, 120, depending where you are, over what I was 6, 7 months ago. So the increases in new homes haven't been that much. So rather than, fix up their current properties, especially if you're in that 15 to 20 year home age group, those homes are the ones that are starting to get to be the point where you need, I got to do my roof, got to do my furnace, got to do my windows. They're saying, let's go to a new home. We also lock in our price. Some people who have locked in that are closing over the next 2 months here, they picked up $120,000 on the value of their home from the time that we signed on the dotted line to have a new home built. So that's what we're running into. So that's driving a certain degree in our new home market.
Wow. So maybe I'll throw this towards Colleen, just kind of jumping off of that. So does it make, like, I think what Bob's saying is, because people are so desperate to get a house, like nobody's worried about, do they have new windows and how's the roof? Like people will just snatch it up. So you're better to just list it as is, or what would you recommend to prepare your house to sell?
So that is a great question, because I find in this market, I will meet sellers, and a lot of people with their perception of the market will think, why should I do anything? It's going to sell, and it will. If you put a house on the market right now, it's going to sell. But there's still ways to take advantage of it and sell it for the best price. When myself, or I mean, most agents that are going to come meet you for a listing appointment are going to go through your house and give you in a perfect world, this is what we'd like you to do, right? And you do what you can, because the biggest thing that I find in this market is you want buyers to feel comfortable and confident, because they're going in with no conditions and they're paying over ask. And the more comfortable and confident they are, the more comfortable and confident they are going to be in the price that they offer. So it's little things. You want them to know that you took care of the house. You know, if you're missing, you know, plate covers on some of your switches, get them on. Like it's little things like that. But it does, you know, I do have sellers that will still paint, you know, will still stage, because you still want to take advantage of it. So everybody's different. It's situational. It depends what condition your house is in now, how quickly you need to get it on the market. And that's what happens during an initial appointment.
Okay. So like we should definitely put our like dirty socks in the clothes basket. Like you just can't walk out. Okay. See, Amy, like this is a riot, right? Like where
You wouldn't believe what as realtor real estate sales reps we run into, and sometimes we just chuckle and it becomes part of our daily business.
Okay, let's go off script. Sorry, Arden, we're going. Okay, Matt, what's like the most bizarre experience you've had? You know, like you walk into the store and you think, oh,
about a king. Joining us as well in the background is Kelly Loshak.
Sorry, I missed the a little bit of what you said there.
So I said we're going off script, so this isn't in the questions anybody got. What is one moment that sticks out in your mind? You walk in a house to prepare to show it, and you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe what? Like, what is the
like kind of I guess maybe the craziest thing I've seen?
Craziest thing, yeah. Maybe it's not family rated. Like
no, it's, I mean, yeah. I've walked in on people passed out naked.
Okay.
Nice.
With clients.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Your clients were naked and passed out?
We all were. No. Oh geez. No, it was okay. So I guess maybe a little context to it. It was a student rental. Clearly they had one hell of a banger the night before with the amount of alcohol bottles that were all over the place. And yeah. And you know, like, and as an agent, like it's tough, right? Because, you know, you knock, you open the door, especially student rentals, or if you know there's a tenant there, I mean, you holler, right? You really announce that you're there, because you just, you know what I mean? You never know. People forget things. And I mean, I mean, like it was literally where I'm walking with my two clients and we open the room and we're just like, and we're out of here. And the three of us turned around, got our shoes on and just said, we should like this. No, like this, not,
wow.
No.
We're done here.
We're done here. Like,
so, you know,
yeah. So, I mean, it's uncomfortable and weird. But yeah, I mean, I think we've probably seen just about everything. That comes to mind because we were talking about it actually in the office last week. Because I forget something else happened to somebody and they're just like, how are people this oblivious? And you're like, I don't know. People forget.
Yeah. So in my work, we say like, as soon as you say you've seen it all, something else is going to happen. And
Absolutely.
whoa, they just topped that. So, okay. All right. And I was thinking, like, I'm sure we've all watched a few real estate or home reno shows, and they say, imagine yourself in the space. Like, did you do that as they were naked or just carrying on? Okay.
We were all just, none of us knew what to do. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't know, like, it was like freeze for a second. It's like, we're out of here. I'm not, because what are you going to find elsewhere? I don't want to know. I'm out of here. Like, the place is already a wreck.
Yes.
You know, just, and again, it's a student rental. I mean, every agent on here has been through a student rental. And I mean, some of them, like, and I'm talking, they probably had 50 people in this house the night before. I mean, they probably made $200 off the empty beer bottles kind of thing. Like, right when you go in, it was like immediately, like, just as an investor, you were turned off because you're like, great, I'm going to inherit tenants that are just going to destroy my investment.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
so.
Thank you. Bob and Mel, do you have anything to top that?
I listed at that time, a fairly
Higher end.
fairly higher end apartment condo. And, you know, got the listing all done, everything all that signed, and I booked the virtual tour for the following day, met the photographer there, and the homeowner was home. So it was fine. So I stayed and chit-chatted with her on the main floor while the photographer went around. That was fine. She had the house beautifully. Anyway, next day I get into the office and the secretary, she had a smirk on her face. And she says, have you looked at the virtual tours yet? I says, no, actually I haven't. That was my first job here this morning and I'm going to look at it. And she said, look at the master bedroom. And there was a pair of handcuffs on the bedpost. Now it's on the virtual tour. So I went back to the family and I mentioned it to the lady that, you know, that wasn't really what's supposed to be. She had a good job. She was had a good sense of humor. She laughed about it and says, I'll take them down.
Must have been a police officer, right?
Right, that's it. Yeah.
Anyway, the next day that when I went into the office, there was a plastic set of handcuffs in my mail slot.
Perfect. All right, Colleen, what you got for us?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of one that's like PG. I haven't walked in on anyone naked. I think one of the biggest things that you realize when you become a real estate agent is just how dirty some people are. Like, there's places that I've walked into and the smell just hits you like a wall and you immediately walk out. Immediately. A lot of times, I'm not surprised Matt walked into that. A lot of times rentals, when you come in, they're just party the night before and everything stays out and nobody cares. But
yeah,
thankfully I haven't walked in on anyone naked. I've got a lot of years left though, so I'm sure it's bound to happen.
It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
It will happen.
All righty. I don't know where we left off because I went off the rails there. So I think we did Bob and Mel and Colleen, you talked a little bit about getting the house ready. So Amy, am I coming back your way perhaps? Let me see what I can find here. Is there a better time to try to acquire a mortgage, like a time of year, or?
No.
There's no mortgage season, you know, and the rates are great. And
Every day is a good day to get a mortgage.
okay. And I guess, do you have any, I can't believe I experienced that stories in your work?
I don't really.
Okay. Okay. So just holler if I've missed someone too. I see. Okay. I'm going to head back, I think, to Matt with this one. Is there a way, how can I figure out how much my home is worth, especially right now? Like, I mean, I just kind of looking at what sold in the neighborhood, or
Yeah. So I guess pre the real past 12 months crazy. When you pulled comps, it was a lot easier. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like some of it, you would add a little bit for this, subtract a little bit for that. Nowadays, the kind of like velocity at which pricing is increasing, it's getting hard. And because sometimes what I will say we are seeing with some buyers is they kind of turn into the emotional psycho buyer where they've lost so many times, they don't care.
Yeah.
Where like, and I mean, like we're talking like we've had scenarios where you say that like, let's just say like as an example, house is 500 grand based off of comps, it might go to 6, and you'll get the wife or husband and they're like 800, and you're just like, no, like you're like, no, and they're like, no, I don't care, I'm done with this. And it's hard because you are seeing that now. I mean, I think our ranges, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think our ranges when we're meeting with sellers are probably getting wider where we kind of maybe see things maybe selling. But I always throw it out to people. I say, you know what, based off comps, here are your comps. We've added a bit for this, we've moved a bit for that. You're in this range. But then I always say, you wait for that, again, the lunatic buyer might show up who's lost 12, and finally they don't care. I mean, I haven't seen it lately personally. I know we saw it about a year ago when we started to really see prices increasing. And somebody came in, it was a young couple. They came in with a bully offer. This is before we did like Form 244s, which is a document that prevents sellers from looking at offers before a certain date. And the agent called and they just said, listen, I know you have it in here, you want to hold off to this time, but will people look at an offer early? And I said, I guess they will if it's really good. Now, what's very interesting about this one is basically the exact same house sold 5 doors down, minus different colored hardwood floors and things like that. But so it was very like, hey, that's what it should go for. And I said, well, yeah, but like, what are you talking? She's like, it was $40,000 higher than the one 5 doors down. And I was like, are you nuts? It's not going to appraise. And she said, well, here's the story. I think they had lost on 8. They'd just gotten married. They've been shopping for a home, lost out on 8. Each one of their parents gave them $20,000 to burn and never see again. And so the agent on the other end just explained it. She said, so this is it. She's like, they have $40,000 that they don't ever need to see back. Their parents just want them to get a home and so that they can get on with their lives and start a family. So you find kind of like those unicorn events like that. But it's, I would say like you pull comps and then, like in January, as an example, January in the city of London, home prices in January alone went up 5%. Well, how can you predict a 5% increase when historically in London, we normally see like 3% for 12 months? I think this past February, I think it was just under 2%, which it actually felt like it was 10, but it's getting harder. That's for sure. I know even, Amy probably bumps into this with, appraisals. I bet you like appraisals have to be pretty gnarly right now too. Cause, you look at certain home prices and you scratch your head and it doesn't make sense one day. And then a week later, another one sells at that price. And you're like, okay, there's a new benchmark. We have 2 data points that now justify, a $200,000 increase in the neighborhood for that type of a home. And it's like, it's wild. It's not, and here's, I talk a lot, as agents. And I mean, like, and I'm people say a lot that like, oh, you must love this. I hate this market. It is exciting on one hand, but as realtors, we are human beings and we recognize the stress that this is putting on sellers and buyers. It is not pleasant for anybody, but it is the market that we're in, right? So, Yeah, I'll be quiet now.
Bob and Mel, I've seen in the past, and obviously I haven't watched real estate in a little while, but I've seen in the past where people just have like, we're going to show our house and here's a day where we're going to accept offers. Is that still a thing, or are people just like, here's our asking price and people just are crazy and offer whatever?
Yeah, I would say that's ongoing right now. And we've noticed the last 2 or 3 sales that we've done. I'll say 2 sales in February that we done on resale properties. Matt referenced the Form 244, which is the clause that we hold offers under on a certain date and nothing before. But we've got these last 2 I'm referring to. Both those sellers wanted to be able to look at offers, preemptive offers beforehand. Both homes sold the first day of the market far above asking price with multiple offers.
I know, I tried to get one.
Yeah, sorry about that, buddy.
But it's and people are saying, well, if we get a good offer that we're happy with, like, why should we wait for the rest of the people? So basically, as soon as we know if any showings that have been booked, we let the people know that there's an offer coming in, and it's just a different approach.
Yeah.
And the old saying was, sometimes your first offer is your best offer. As long as people are happy with the bottom line, that's the way they're looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Colleen, can you talk about some of the costs associated with selling? So I'm going to list my house and we're going to sell it together. As a seller, what do I need to be aware of?
So the only thing aside from commission, which we are all independent contractors, so commissions are all across the board. Anything in addition to that is going to be what work you decide to do to it. So, if you're going to paint it, if you're going to fix up some things, and legal fees.
Yeah.
Other than that, those are the only costs. There's more costs associated with buyers than there are for sellers.
Okay. So the slammers all selling, like we should be good. Just
yeah.
You guys, it's gonna be talk of the town. We just wait.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
Okay. Now I'm just kind of looking at our audience. We do have some people like a bit of a different demographic here. So I'm just kind of curious, kind of where everybody's at in the land of home ownership. And I guess we can get into some comments or question and answers from everyone, but like those who have owned your home for a while, kind of like, what is your interest in the market right now? Are you thinking like, I bought my home for this that many years ago and we'll sell for this and we're retiring and donating to Isle of Thorndale and everybody's happy? Or I don't know if anybody on that end of the spectrum wants to share kind of their experience, or even just how real estate has changed so much in Thorndale.
Somebody want to address Sarah's question in the chat box first then? She said, with new single family homes starting at 900 grand in some divisions, how are younger people going to enter the market? When will this correct itself, and will these homes ultimately depreciate in value? So I don't know if somebody wants to take a stab at commenting on that.
I can, or I don't know. Am I even on? Yeah, I'm on. I'm not on mute. Yeah, I mean, I guess with new single family housing, in the Rosewood Sifton subdivision, basically now at, call it $900,000. How are younger people going to enter the market? They're going to enter the market through most likely granny suites and having friends live with them. You've seen that a lot in the bigger cities, like in the Torontos and the Vancouvers, where you see a lot of homes, new build home. Like if we're talking new build homes here as an example, you'll actually buy a new build home for, you know, $1.2 million, and there's a two bedroom granny suite already created in the lower level. We've seen this in the municipality of London, for instance. They have a sweeping bylaw that allows for granny suites in every home across the city, capped out at 5 bedrooms per house. And you can even actually do 2 granny suites now. So that's going to be one way that they do it. You know, how are they going to enter the market? I'm going to take that as, how the hell are they going to come up with the down payment? It's mom and dad. That's going to be a sad reality, is that, and I mean, hey, I've got a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I'm already thinking about this, that I'm going to have to help them come up with a down payment. And I mean, they're a ways away from buying a house, but at the pace at which housing is appreciating, you know, you might see, you know, going to, you know, the parents or like grandparents, early inheritance, down payment on a house. I mean, that's one way. Or just, you know, don't buy a, you know, crazy fancy, you know, $7 fancy coffee from Starbucks, and go back to, you know, a more traditional way of being, which is saving your money. What's the last little bit? You know, when will this correct itself? I think that ties back into this. I mean, okay, like I'm 41. I'm not that old. I've never seen I've never seen a what you would deem a real recession, right? I've never lived through that, or maybe I did and I just didn't know it. But you know, our governments have tried to dodge recessions as much as they can. Well, we all know one has to happen at some point, so that will affect it. You know, or it's interest rates going up, that would correct it. The other thing that I think we're going to maybe see that's going to help bring down the cost of new construction is the concept of prefab homes, but not in the way that most people kind of think about it when they hear it. You think it's just like a construction site trailer and they plunk it down. There are companies out there that do prefab homes that look like, you know, a normal home that's built. They just come in trucks and use a crane to put them together. That will help to drive prices down. However, that's still probably a ways away, because you need a local manufacturing, you know, supply chain network for that specific. Will homes ultimately depreciate in value? They will. That'll be the bad time to sell. I mean, you chart everything. I mean, I hear stories about people saying they bought homes for, you know, $22,000. Well, they're never going back to $22,000. You know, if we do see a pullback, if it's, you know, 1 or 2 years, or even let's say like a lost decade where housing prices peel back 20%, well, that might just force us to get out of the habit of moving frequently. You do see a lot more people. I think right now the average is everybody moves about every 7 years. I mean, my parents have been in the same home for something like 45 years. I think we'll move back to that. But if homes do depreciate in value, all of us who bought, we're just going to stay put, right? And it's, you know, it only affects you if you're moving, you know, and it's a weird one, but, you know, at some point it'll have to happen. But then give it enough time, we'll be back up.
Your agents help people find rental places? Like if you just think like, this is insane, there's no way I can get into a home ownership right now, are agents helping people find rentals, or they're probably impossible to come by also?
Are you asking me or just in general?
Anybody.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we do. It's in the London area. Is that Mel laughing? Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in the London area, we try a bit. The one thing that I notice in like the smaller areas, like in a Thorndale, you know, I would say you jump on a community page, somebody posts it. That's probably actually a more, you know, less friction way of doing it. You know, going to like the next biggest city, like a London seems to really go the avenue of rental agencies. When you get into the bigger cities, like the Torontos, the Montreals, the Vancouvers, then it jumps into like more realtors get involved in it. And it's because, you know, you'll get clients who will go in and buy like, you know, 20 condo units in a condo development in a 600 unit complex. And so as an agent, why I think it happens in bigger centers is, well, you help the investor build their portfolio. You also help them get them rented. But we can, I would argue, at least, and just me personally, I'm not, you know, I wouldn't be the right agent to go for that. At least I know it. I mean, I'm always just like, hey, let me connect you with, you know, a couple rental agents that I know, or I will message investors that I know, or, you know, like call Bob and Mel or Colleen, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, hey, do you have this? But it's just not, it's not as common of an occurrence.
It
At
just-
least in my books, it's not for me.
People asking, you know, all the time on the neighborhood
Yeah.
pages in different communities, and you just wonder, like,
And we need them out here. We like, and not just like, hey, here's a house you can rent for $25,000, $3,000. Like, no, we actually need, you know, we need affordable rentals. You need, and the way to do it is like I don't even know, like a mid-rise 2-story building with 2-bedroom units. I mean, that would make total sense.
Yeah.
What responsibility is that? Like, is that something that our municipality should be, you know, focusing on, the idea of affordable housing? Or
With the new homes right now, or new developments, at least, you're seeing a lot of the municipalities put in clauses in those agreements that there has to be some sort of multi-residential units. So for instance, in Trails at Y Creek, they had the semi-detached. That's as far as they went.
Yeah.
In the new Rosewood, I think you're going to see some low-rise walk-ups. It's really, the municipality is the one that has to hold the reins on that, and they've got to lay some ground rules for the developers to create these spaces. The developer can't go around what the municipality wants. If those guys want to play in our neighborhood, they've got to, you know, follow the rules that the municipality is laying down. So, I mean, we could really focus on that and voice our opinions to our municipal representatives if we want to do that. But as far as rentals overall, they're few and far between too. There's a huge shortage of those throughout Middlesex County and the City of London. So you're starting to see more high rises go up right now in London, which is fantastic. But like, you know, where do the farmers' daughters and sons go right now? You know, aside from selling the farm, which that's not going to happen, you know, where do they go other than stay home? And it's the same with everybody's families right now. You can't find a place to rent. You can't afford to buy. It's becoming a real conundrum.
Yeah, I think to kind of maybe go a little deeper on that topic, and this is maybe going to sound like a bit of a weird one. I believe that the federal government needs to wake up and start having an honest conversation that, and this is going to sound like a weird way of explaining it, but we are bordering on, you could just call it a housing crisis. And the federal government, the provincial government, and the local municipalities need to sit down and need to come up with a long-term strategy. And some of that might be, and then pulling in developers and saying, okay, how do we get things done in a cost-effective way? I know a lot of developers, and there's two sides to every story, but and I mean, I don't just understand, I guess in this comment, I want to just, if we don't start talking about these things, we're not going to get anywhere. But we need to figure out how to speed up the process for developers, because time is money when it comes to business. So if you have $5 million tied up in land and you're spending, and you've got a couple $1 million burn rate to, let's say, get a neighborhood done and serviced, if it takes you 3 years, that's why some of the costs are what they are, because your money's tied up for so long. We need to figure out a way of getting development done quickly, safely, because you have environmental concerns that you have to do. But And at the end of the day, I mean, I think where the province can step in is actually identify, you know, almost a provincial, and this sounds weird, but, you know, figure out where servicing is easy. You know, for instance, the City of London, as an example, they've needed a new sewage treatment plant for a decade. They need to look at it and say, okay, and to get that done, it's difficult. Well, what is the capacity of every sewage treatment plant within 30 minutes of London? Let's put focus on these municipalities, you know, firing up their development. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I grew up in Lambeth. I'm used to a small town, but when we do talk about, we want gas stations and car washes and, you know, a cool coffee shop, that comes with population growth, right? And most of these things, they need population of a certain level before it happens. But I think, and I mean, sadly, I don't think this will ever happen, but you need to get everybody involved, right? You do. You need to figure out how to get the price to develop land lower. I mean, building permits are tens of thousands of dollars to get, you know, just to put in context, to get a signature of approval. You know, and again, I mean, there's cost to build outs and things, but we've got to figure out at all levels how to make it work to bring that, call it, you know, bring that supply, because that's what we have. We have a supply shortage, and it started in Colleen mentioned this. It started at the end of 2016. 2017 was this massive drop off on inventory, and we've never played catch up because no one's been incentivized enough to do it. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
I think as far as going back to the first time home buyer, where are they going to fit into the pie? I think it's Perth County that has going through the motions of just like Matt said, you know, getting into dialogue and talking about what things they can improve to take care of that situation. And they've put up their ideas that, once again, going back to the multi-generational home, you know, if you're going to build a new home, but you're also going to be allowed to have like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in a lower level or on the same level, some combination to allow for that. But our first time home buyers are really struggling right now, simply because the price of homes are going up faster than they can save money.
Yeah.
And as we said, you know, it takes mom and dad to help out in order for them to get established, or a good mortgage broker who has access to good funding. But just at Christmas time, we had a young couple that were looking for their first home, getting married this coming year, and we happened to run across a freehold townhouse freehold townhouse development in Lucan, and there was, I believe it's either 45 or 48 units. None of them were finished, and yet I called the agent on about the 22nd of December, and the 23rd of December there was 1 new unit left, and on the 24th of December we had an offer in on the last unit, and like they're you know, basically we didn't have to be in competition. We had a firm price that we were going to close at, and they're not closing in this particular case till late this fall. And if it happens to be a delay, they may not close till the spring of 2022. But there's none of them occupied as of yet, but all are under construction. So I guess from that aspect, if we're calling 440,000 as an entry-level home now, where is that going to go? But on the other hand, as this couple said, like we would, if we were looking at that 450 range and had to get to competition in today's market, they would have been spending closer to 600. To just the way the marketplace is going.
All right, I'm going to bring us back to Thorndale, and obviously our organization is called I Love Thorndale, and I think we've got a lot of longtime residents here. We've got some new residents here too. So What is everyone thinking about? How does this impact our community? Like, how does this change our community? Or what is something that we need to be doing? If everybody's looking for that small town feel, what are some things that need to be done to keep it that small town feel?
Wow, good question.
You bet it is.
It's really hard because you're getting people from larger communities coming in, and they come because they want the small town feel, and they want a little bit slower, the quality of life. But they also want everything they had, and it ends up being a little bit uncomfortable sometimes between people when they're, you're trying to be a good neighbor, but then you're demanding things of your neighborhood. And it's a really good question. It's a really tough balancing act for sure.
One of the things that people, when they're dealing with the new homes, especially because that's the people I see the most often, is they'll say, everybody waves in Thorndale. We're not used to that. As well, we're just a friendly group of people. And when you talk to them about the church suppers and the fall fairs and the community center that we have, and the past community center we have, that whole combination, that's some of the things we have to keep alive.
Yeah, that's pretty charming for sure.
We have to engage the people as they enter our communities.
That's the answer I was looking for, Bob. You win.
You win.
We've seen it, right? So we started years ago doing the welcome mob. So like actually knocking on people's doors and a group of us being there and putting, faces to these computer screen names and making connections and people asking questions, right? Like, where do we play volleyball? And now, well, actually, like in a small town, if you want something to happen, guess what? Like you're going to make it happen. So making people realize that it's the people in this community, it's the businesses that support what we do, make this community what it is. So if we stop participating in community, then we've lost it, right? So I know our new residents, like I know Liz and James, just kind of recognizing them as newer people that have totally just wrapped their arms around the idea of being involved in community, right? Being a part of the fair and the Hort Society, meeting neighbors, going cross-country skiing, and all of those sorts of things. So, and I'm seeing a lot of nods from people who are on service clubs and part of different organizations. Like that's where it's at. And I think we just need to do our part to keep promoting these groups. And I think it's tough right now because, with COVID, everything's kind of taken a back burner and what we can traditionally do to bring people together. But we know that these service groups are traditionally, older members of our community. And we're really worried about how sustainable these groups are. And if we can't sustain these groups, how do we sustain these events and all of these services that these groups offer? So I guess if I, want to drive anything home, like as, this has been a great talk about real estate, but we're about community. So if we can really encourage these new residents, and I think it's all of our responsibility as neighbors to just to break the ice, right? And make people feel welcome and make sure they know about these opportunities and how it's everybody's responsibility to be building our community together. So
I think we got hit with a double whammy with starting off with our community center burning, and then after that getting hit with COVID. It really it took a lot away from our normal fundraising for our service clubs that was putting money back into our community. And you're right, as if we're going to become a vibrant or remain a vibrant community, it's the new people coming in that we need to be approaching without discarding the people that have well established things in the past. That we got to keep up with that mix to promote our ability to be Thorndale. And as we all said, I love Thorndale.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're like, and that's so much of what this Skills Academy has been about too, right? The sharing of skills, the transfer of knowledge, right? Getting it from one generation to the next. So, yeah, we're so thrilled with the people that have been participating and the response that we've had. Like I said, we've got, I think maybe 3 weeks left. Next week we have Dr. K, so our Thorndale chiropractor. If you haven't been to see Dr. K, then be sure to pop on next week to meet her. She's lovely and she's probably the strongest female I know. So if you've got any joints that need a little working out, like honestly, she's top notch. The week after that, we have Lori Ahrens from Edible Acres, and she's going to talk about organic farming and their experience with that. And then we think we're going to wrap it up with, you know, our little secret and our community space that's being developed right now, and take everybody on a virtual tour to show you what's happening there and what our plans are for, you know, keeping this community vibe, bringing it back together in person. So, Arden, do you have any thoughts, any comments?
Nope, you nailed it.
All right. Well, I went off your script a little bit, but I guess my assistant left.
Yes, you did.
I know there's been a lot of chatter in the chat here, and Colleen, did you have anything else you wanted to share about your Thorndale real estate experience or anything?
My Thorndale real estate experience. I just love Thorndale. I loved when you guys came in. I was all over you when you started it. And I think it's a great town to be a part of. And I think that I love Thorndale has just made such a difference in community. I think especially for the younger generation, right? That was moving in here and not knowing everybody that was part of the groups, and, you know, and really getting them involved. And I think it's just a wonderful community. And I appreciate all of the work that you guys do, because I don't know how you do it.
We have little clones that we don't tell anybody about, but
superpowers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Colleen. That means a lot. We, you know, we do what we do because we love this community too, and we see the importance of this work. All right, Amy, did you have anything that you wanted to kind of close with?
Just thanks for the invite. It was really nice to get that, and nice to see some of my neighbors, even though we may have run into each other at Sassy's or at the hardware store or somewhere along the ways. I just wanted to say hello to everybody, and I look forward to finding a way that I can get a little more involved in the community as well, besides virtually.
Well,
There's a question that maybe Amy can answer from Blake. What's the best interest rate you've seen?
Probably a 1.29. But it's not anything that I would probably want to give to anybody. It comes with a lot of restrictions. So.
All right, before we close for this evening, is there anyone that had a burning question or comment that they wanted to unmute themselves and share?
Just a plug for Amy, I guess, from the realtor side of it. We've had people that have gone to banks and have been turned down. We've been told them to go and approach a mortgage broker. Have approached the mortgage broker, and lo and behold, the mortgage broker has worked with the same bank that the people got turned down from, and that's where the mortgage ends up at sometimes a more competitive rate from that bank as you would have got walking in the front door. So it's always good to deal with that. Have a good talk with your mortgage broker when you're doing it. They have some really good flexible rates, and they know how to package your application to make it work.
Thanks, Bob. just to say, like, just even going back to the bank, I've had experience with a number of clients that have been pre-approved by the bank, and then they go in without any conditions, and they weren't pre-approved in any way, shape, or form. Like, they didn't hand in a single document. So I think that the brokers are spending a lot more time, full income documents up front, so that there's a lot of time making sure that there is no surprises when you go for your no conditions.
Very, very important in this market.
Okay, well, I think if nobody's chomping at bit here to say anything, then we will wrap things up tonight.
I just want to quickly congratulate the agents. I think they did a great job. I was just here to oversee them, and the answers were well put. So I want to thank them for that. All 3-4 of you. That's it.
Thanks, Danny. I agree. I know we kind of just randomly threw some extra things at them, so it's hard to be on the spot, but Officer Danny here in the corner, he gets a stamp of approval, so that's great. Okay, well, I could ramble on for a while if anybody wants to stay for my comedy show, but I think we'll stop recording and say goodnight for tonight, and we'll see everyone next Wednesday, 6:30, to meet Dr. K, our chiropractor. Okay?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.
Great.
Bye.